Today we're here with Tobe Sheldon of Sheldon Winery. Tobe, thanks for having us.
My pleasure.
Tell us a little bit about the winery and how you got started in this.
Well, we are known as a micro winery, which means we make ridiculously small amounts of wine.
Okay.
Our total production is just around 700 cases, and that can be up to 9 different wines that we make. But we got started in not the usual way. I was a geologist in Idaho and had decided that I wanted to quit my job and travel the world and make wine overseas and write the great American novel. And prior to leaving, I ended up in a wine bar in Carmel, California, and the handsome gentleman behind the bar was pouring me some delicious champagne and Chateauneuf du Pape, and I divulged my plan of traveling around the world. And he thought it was a great idea. It turned out that he had just gotten back from making wine in Australia at Howard Park Winery. So I gave him a chaste little peck on the lips, and 5 weeks later we were engaged. So we sold what little we owned and traveled around the world together. We made wine at Esk Valley Winery in New Zealand and got married there in the Malbec Terraces, and went on to get to work with Louis Brule at Chateau St. Côme in Gigondas in the south of France, the southern Rhone. Very briefly, it was a bad vintage, but we learned a ton from him in the cellar in a short amount of time. 14th generation winemaker, they've learned a thing or two over the years. And then we came home and we had about $10,000 in credit card debt. 60, right? 60, which seems like a little bit now to me, but it was a lot at the time because we didn't have a job or a car or a home. We had $60 in cash, and we're waiting for our luggage to come around the carousel at San Francisco Airport at midnight. And I just turned to Dylan and said, let's just start our own winery. So here we are. That was late 2002, and in 2003 we made our first 420 cases.
Excellent. Well, I've tried a couple of the wines here, and thank you so much for taking that risk. I think I and probably a lot of people really appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much.
So you source from a few different vineyards in the area.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, we're really vineyard driven. We never thought that we would make Cabernet, but somebody walked through the door and said, please make wine from our Cabernet vineyard, and we went, well, we'll look at it. Yeah. And it was a very exciting vineyard, and so now we make Cabernet that isn't typical for California. It's lower in alcohol and very food friendly. And our wine somm wine guy friends love it. It's because it's so easy to pair with all kinds of different foods. We have a high elevation vineyard that we work with in the Anderson Valley. It's a ridge top that looks down on the town of Bougainville. It's all Pinot Noir, Primard Clone. We have to battle black bears in order to be able to harvest it. True story. We have one of the lowest, to my knowledge, lowest elevation vineyard on the West Coast, 19 feet below sea level on limestone soils. Planted to a few unique grape varieties, the most unique being Graciano. And then we have a few vineyards that are located right around the base of Sonoma Mountain that we get Grenache Blanc and Grenache Noir, and that's also where the Cabernet is. And then we have a great new vineyard that we just started making wine from this year, up off of Fountain Grove, Mark West Springs Road, so really close by. It's a hillside, and we have Syrah and Tempranillo and some more Graciano there.
Interesting. Now, you mentioned a particular grape, the Grenache Blanc.
Yes.
That grape, I just read in Wine Spectator that it's gone from, I think, 36 acres to 334 acres in California over the last 5 years. Tell us about the characteristics of that grape.
I didn't know those statistics. That's good for me to know. Well, Grenache Blanc is sort of a middle of the road in taste and aroma profile between Sauvignon Blanc and Chardonnay, so it can reach a lot of different palates. But it has some really interesting for wine geeks really interesting sort of minerality components, tropical notes, and then for just enjoyability, it has a kind of like white peach or nectarine to it without being too overblown and over the top. So it's a really good, again, food-friendly, fun, great variety that I think should be on more and more tables. So I'm glad to hear there's more acres of it out there.
Yeah. Now, a lot of your wines they're very oak neutral.
They're all oak neutral, yeah.
Yeah, is that because you feel the oak will manipulate the wines, or why is that?
Well, oak is part of your seasoning rack. I tell people it's like salt and pepper.
Sure.
We haven't bought a new oak barrel since 2008, and we didn't have a lot of new oak in our profiles prior to that. But since we're looking to really accentuate all the beautiful, delicate nuances of aroma and taste in the wines, we don't want to overpower it with too much seasoning.
Sure.
And so we're really showcasing vineyard site and great variety so people can see a true expression of it too. And I think that really shows off most in our Cabernet because people have come to expect Cabernet to taste a certain way, which is really over extracted and heavily oak dominated, so you don't get to see what the grape variety itself really tastes like. And so we have a neutral oak Cabernet where you can see this pure expression of Cabernet Sauvignon.
Wow. Now, speaking of other characteristics in your wines, I also noticed that a lot of your wines are very low in alcohol content, and that's by design, or?
Yeah, and again, it's because we're looking to capture those delicate aromas and flavors. And if you push the ripeness too far, you lose them. They become flabby, and if you have a lot of ripeness, you have a lot of sugar, and sugar equates to a lot of alcohol. So we are really not focused on having lower alcohol wines. It's just a byproduct of the style that we're making.
Sure.
And it's we've always had lower alcohol wines than what was customary since we started for California, what was typical for California since we started making wine in 2003.
Now, it seems like you guys do a lot of really interesting, innovative things, a lot of grapes that are, I think, a little less common. And one of the things that you do is, or that you've embraced early on, is keg wine.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
yeah, we really championed that for a long time.
Okay.
And it came about from our time in France, and you could go to the cave and with your jug, and you weigh it when you would go in, and then you would go around and you would taste wines on tap. Now, they weren't kegged because they had tanks that they were using, and then you would fill up your jug of whatever and take it and weigh it and pay. And we thought, well, this is very civilized. But it was illegal to do in California for a long time. Not the kegs themselves, but the buying wine that way through a tap system. But kegs are so much gentler on the wine instead of bottling. Bottling is pretty harsh. It shakes up the wine. That's why there's the term bottle shock, and then you have to wait for the wine to come back to life. And sometimes it never completely comes back to the vibrancy that it was in barrel. But with a keg, you never have that problem because it's a very gentle process to get the wine out of the barrel into the keg. And the keg wine, because there's no oxygen contact with the wine, your first glass and your last glass are the same. They're just as fresh all the way through. So you don't have any loss, which is great for a restaurant having wines by the glass. They don't have any wine that they have to throw away because it didn't sell quick enough. Although that wouldn't be a case for our wine, of course. But then you also don't have the waste of the bottle, because even if those bottles are being recycled, we don't have a recycling plant in the United States, to the best of my knowledge. At least we didn't up until a couple of years ago. It all goes to Mexico or to China. A lot of it goes on a slow boat to China to be melted back down.
Oh.
So that's also a huge stress or strain on the environment that we're avoiding through the kegs.
Yeah, and also speaking of not using bottles, you guys have a kind of what I think is an interesting program here, the Growler Program.
Yeah, we're very excited about that. Finally, the U.S. government has allowed it to be legal. They didn't for a long time, but we offer a 500 milliliter flask, which we call the lunch portion, and a 1 liter bottle, which is a dinner portion. And every week we blend a new red wine for people to come in and try and refill the growlers. So it's a great way for the local community to meet up and have a high quality wine for less money, because we only charge $5 for the glass. And since we give you a sanitized, fresh, new bottle every time, because we want to make sure there isn't anything growing in it from when you used it, you can always exchange your bottle for whatever size that you want for whatever you need that week. So you're not stuck with just the liter or the 500 ml. You can change it up. And so we have a great community that comes in every Friday, because that's when we offer the new wine. And they meet up, maybe play Cards Against Humanity, fill up the growlers, and are back next Friday. So it's good.
Sounds like fun.
It is fun.
All right, so I've tried a couple of your wines so far, maybe more to come. And I know you've tried them all because you make them. You have 9 varieties?
It's up to 9 different wines. Right now I have 7. I think.
All right, so which of them is your favorite?
Today, the Gracian.
Okay.
The Gracian is a very unique grape. When we started working with it, there was only 13 acres planted in the U.S. It's sort of like spicy pomegranate summer day.
Excellent.
It's very unique.
All right, Tobe, thank you so much for meeting with me. Really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks for being here.